I feel like as long as that patch of lighting is there, none of this setup matters at all. The age-old question of, Max, what did you do for your masters? It gets really technical in parts, so I'm gonna keep it super basic so that it's a little bit fun, a little bit interesting if you're interested in it, and I can put it in a nice condensed video, because if I talked about the whole thing it would be an hour-long lecture and nobody's here for that. Some of this might even sound a little bit familiar to you in 2021, but I did finish this in 2018 and the current situation had not arisen yet. The title of my master's thesis was The Effect of Inflammation on Toll-like receptor 8 Expression in Human Immune Cells. The thesis focused on asthma, and asthma being an allergic condition, we wanted to see whether that inflammation affected the expression of Toll-like receptor 8. Expression meaning, how many of them are there? 36! Counted them myself. And we wanted to see whether that expression had an effect on the asthma patient's response to viral illness. So if you are an asthmatic person, or if you know somebody who is asthmatic, you might know that asthmatics generally suffer with viral respiratory infections a little bit worse than non-asthmatics. So we wanted to see if Toll-like receptor 8 could have played a role in making that worse. So what is Toll-like receptor 8? What are Toll-like receptors? Well, Toll-like receptors are what we call pattern recognition receptors, or PRRs. They recognize these things called pathogen-associated molecular patterns. These pathogen-associated molecular patterns, or PAMPs for short, are basically just bits of RNA and DNA from invading bacteria or viruses. This could be a whole hour on its own, but Toll-like receptor 8, or TLR8, basically recognizes single-stranded viral RNA. So yes, COVID. And this single-stranded RNA is very, very common in respiratory viruses. And these respiratory viruses wreak havoc on the asthmatic's body. They wreak havoc on everybody's, but asthmatics have it slightly worse. So this paper wanted to find out whether the inflammation associated with asthma affected how many TLR8s were expressed in our immune cells, and whether that was the reason why asthmatics experience respiratory viruses worse. There are so many pathways in asthma, it's not physically possible in the space of a 1-year master's course to assess them all. So what I did was to simulate asthma conditions. I incubated cells in a selection of the chemicals that asthmatics have more of in their body. So I chose tumour necrosis factor alpha, or TNF alpha, interleukin 4 or IL4, and interleukin 5 or IL5. IL4 and IL5 were chosen just to simulate a couple of different branches of the asthmatic inflammation pathways. So interleukin 4 tends to play more of a role in the mast cell side of things, and interleukin 5 generally plays a role in the eosinophil side of things. TNF alpha is just sort of everywhere. It's generally present in all sorts of inflammation, and it just sort of acted as our positive control. We chose THP1 cells, which are a monocyte-like cell line derived from cancer cells. I chose those because monocytes are heavily involved in the innate immune system, and it seemed the most appropriate white blood cell to pick, and was also cheap, easy to get your hands on, easy to cultivate, multiple reasons. How to slim this down? So I incubated the THP1 cells in TNF alpha, interleukin 4 and interleukin 5. I can't remember how many days for. But then I tested them using something called QuantaBlue, and a QuantaBlue assay works by measuring the product of TLR8 receptor activation. So instead of looking directly at how many receptors there are by using something like a Western blot, because our antibody failed multiple times and we couldn't figure out why. You measure the product of something, so we used something called SEEP, which is serum something alkaline phosphatase, but you can measure that using the QuantaBlue assay, and it was sort of quick, easy. Ask me about it in the comments if you really want to know the reasons and how that works. Maybe I can make a video about it, but this is not that video. So we measured the amount of SEEP in our assay, and more SEEP meant more TLR8 expression or activation. I just had to quickly grab my poster, which is this bad boy. I'm not very good at posters, but here it is. So by doing this assay, we found that the cells that we incubated in both of the interleukins had less TLR8 activation, which indicated that there was likely less expression. How we differentiated lack of activation with lack of expression, we treated with TLR8 agonists, which basically if you put one of those in, it will activate TLR8 and produce SEEP. But it didn't. There was hardly any activation in all of the samples. We extrapolated that means that there's less TLR8 here, because if there was TLR8, it would have been activated by the agonists. There are so many tangents that we came across in this thesis. There's layers and layers and layers. It's 13,000 words, just FYI. To sum up, we found the inflammation that is present with asthma reduces the amount of TLR8 expression, because it wasn't there to be agonized, it wasn't there to be turned on and make the SEEP. And there was something like a p-value of less than 0.01. So what does that mean for asthma? Why does that explain why asthmatics suffer from viral illnesses worse? Well, one of the arguments I presented in my thesis was if you have less TLR8, you have less opportunity to recognize a viral infection. So it's replicating itself, so you're having a bigger viral load until maybe it hits a TLR8 receptor and it's like, oh hey, no, actually we have an infection, bad. You've already got a lot of virus in there compared to someone without asthma who has more of the TLR8 being expressed and more opportunity to be like, oh hey, there's a virus here, and then you've only got like 3 or 4 more particles and you have more of a chance to mount your immune defense. I could talk about that immune defense, but I'm looking at my viewfinder and we're already at like 16 minutes and I just don't want this to be an hour. So what does this mean for future work? Well, it hinted at lots of things. It hinted at opportunity for further study towards a preventative drug. So for example, maybe an interleukin 4 blocker or modulator. Because we have to remember that these interleukins exist for a reason, and by blocking them outright you might be suppressing the immune system, which is like the opposite of what you want to do. So an interleukin 5 blocker wouldn't really be helpful because you kind of need that so you can have eosinophils migrate to the area to deal with the infection. They do that for a reason. But interleukin 4 might have been a safer thing to modulate or block slightly because its role is sort of duplicated by other chemicals and might not have so much of an effect on TLR8 expression. It also hinted at things like mRNA vaccines or single-stranded RNA vaccines, similar to the COVID one. Oh, the way that works is so much more complicated to explain in this video. It'll be longer than the whole video so far. But one of the TLR8 agonists is also used as a vaccine adjuvant, which can help boost the effect of a vaccine. So it hinted at a role of TLR8 in RNA vaccines, which I think is pretty cool, especially in the current situation. I'd love to make a video about TLR8 signaling, but I really don't know if anybody's interested in that. I think I will make one for next month because that will help explain this video better. But here's my poster. Can't really see it. It's big. It's bigger than me. That poster does quite a good job of summing it up. I'm just going to read my conclusions and future work to you because I think it really sums up what my master's thesis actually found out. Conclusion and future work. Interleukin 4 causes a decrease in TLR8 mediated NF-kappa B activation due to its activation of STAT6, which outcompetes NF-kappa B binding to DNA. This decrease in TLR8 efficacy increases the likelihood of virus-induced disease exacerbation in asthmatic patients, as viruses are able to progress past TLR-mediated defences. Future work seeks to investigate whether IL-4 antagonism would be a viable treatment for asthmatic patients to reduce disease exacerbation. Furthermore, IL-5 also causes a decrease in TLR8-mediated NF-kappa B activation, though the precise mechanisms aren't known. However, similarly to IL-4, IL-5 would increase virus-induced disease exacerbation in the same way. IL-5 antagonism, however, may not be suitable as treatment due to its vital role in eosinophil recruitment. So, like, the end product of TLR8 activation is it removes the inhibition of NF-kappa B, and NF-kappa B basically makes other stuff. I don't want to go into it too deep because there's just so much. But NF-kappa B is basically what allows SEEP to be produced, but also a whole bunch of other things, including cytokines and things that kick your immune system into gear to fight the virus. NF-kappa B being the end product of TLR8 signalling, you don't want anything to really interfere with that. But because it does, because there's no TLR8, there's less NF-kappa B, there's less viral defences, basically. I hope I've managed to edit this into some sort of usable video, because I worked really hard on this for a year and got my master's commendation for it. Yay! So don't forget to like this video, drop a comment down below if you have any questions, if you want me to make a further video explaining stuff. I definitely will, because I can't do it justice in one video, what can I say? Lastly, subscribe to my channel for more science videos and videos about chronic illness, gay stuff, and plenty of other things. Don't forget to ring that notification bell so you get notified every single time I post a new video. Videos go up every Saturday at 6 PM UK time, with at least one bonus video every single month.